The massive alien ship blocked out the sun over New York City. People on the streets stopped walking and stared up at the dark metal hull that stretched for miles across the sky. The ship was called the Eternal Judgment, and it belonged to the Galactic Council. For 3 days it had been sitting there like a giant metal cloud, waiting. Inside the United Nations building, Ambassador Zexithara stood at the podium. The alien was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. 4 arms moved gracefully as it spoke, and its voice came through a translator that made every word sound cold and final. "People of Earth," Zexithara said, looking down at the human representatives with what might have been pity. "Your time of independence is over. The Galactic Council has watched your species for many years. We have seen your wars, your pollution, your nuclear weapons. We have seen how you destroy your own planet and fight among yourselves like children." The alien paused and walked slowly across the stage. Each step echoed in the silent assembly hall. World leaders sat in their seats, some looking angry, others looking scared. President Chen of the Earth Federation kept her face blank, but her hands were folded tightly in her lap. 47 species have joined the Council peacefully, Zexithara continued. Each one recognized that their primitive ways needed to end. Each one accepted our guidance and became better for it. The Veltar people were violent raiders until we showed them the path of peace. The Mordoon nearly destroyed their own atmosphere before we saved them from themselves. The Kethvar thought they were mighty warriors until they learned humility. The ambassador stopped walking and faced the assembly directly. Its large black eyes seemed to look at each person individually. "Now it is humanity's turn. You have spread to nearby star systems like a virus. You build weapons instead of art. You fight over resources instead of sharing them. You are exactly what we expected from a young, foolish species." Someone in the back of the room stood up. It was General Morrison, Earth's top military commander. He was an old man with gray hair and scars on his face from the border wars 20 years ago. "And what if we refuse?" Morrison asked. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. Zexithara's face changed. Its mouth opened wider, showing rows of sharp teeth. This was probably what passed for a smile among its people. "Refuse," the alien said. "General Morrison, is it? Your military records show you are a capable leader for your species. Surely you understand that refusal is not possible." The alien waved one of its arms and a holographic display appeared in the air above the assembly. It showed star maps, fleet positions, and weapon readouts. Earth looked very small and very alone. The Council fleet numbers 8,000 ships. Each one is more advanced than anything humanity has ever built. Your entire space navy consists of perhaps 200 vessels, most of them cargo haulers with weapons bolted on. Your technology is 300 years behind ours. Your population is scattered across only 6 worlds. The display zoomed in on Earth's defenses. Orbital platforms, moon bases, and patrol ships were marked in red. They looked pathetic compared to the massive alien fleet shown in blue. "Resistance would be brief and pointless," Zexithara said. "Your people would suffer greatly before the inevitable surrender. The Council does not wish to see humanity destroyed. We wish to see you saved from yourselves." President Chen finally stood up. She was a small woman, but when she spoke, her voice carried across the entire assembly. "What exactly are you offering us?" she asked. "Integration," Zexithara replied. "Humanity will become a protected species under Council authority. Your aggressive tendencies will be curbed through education and genetic therapy. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your expansion into space will be carefully controlled. In return, you will be given access to Council technology, medicine, and knowledge. Your lifespans will increase. Your conflicts will end. You will find peace." "As slaves," someone called out from the crowd. "As children learning to become adults," Zexithara corrected. The Veltar protested too at first. Now they are grateful. They have built beautiful cities and created wonderful art. They no longer know the pain of war or want. The alien ambassador walked to the edge of the stage and looked down at the human. "Leaders, you have 72 of your hours to decide. The Council is patient, but our patience is not unlimited. Other species have tried to resist. The Krathen thought their mountain fortresses would protect them. The Yuldai believed their technology was superior. The Jektar tried to hide in the depths of space. All of them learned the same lesson." President Chen stepped forward. "And what lesson is that?" "That the Council always wins," Zexithara said simply. "Always. We have been the dominant power in this galaxy for over 10,000 years. We have ended more wars than your species has fought. We have saved more worlds than humanity has even discovered. We are not cruel, President Chen. We are simply inevitable. The alien began walking toward the exit, but then stopped and turned back. Do not think that distance will save you. Do not think that hiding will protect you. Do not think that some miracle of human ingenuity will change the outcome. 47 species thought exactly the same thing. 47 species learned they were wrong. The massive doors of the assembly hall opened with a deep rumbling sound. Zexthera paused in the doorway. 72 hours, the alien repeated. Use that time wisely. Decide whether humanity's children will remember you as the leaders who chose peace, or the fools who chose destruction. After the alien left, the assembly hall erupted in angry voices. Some delegates shouted about fighting, others about surrender. Security guards moved to keep order, but the chaos was spreading. President Chen walked quickly to a side door, followed by General Morrison and several other military leaders. They moved through empty corridors toward a secure room deep in the building. Well? Morrison asked when they were alone. Chen pressed her hand against a scanner and a hidden door opened. Inside was a room filled with communication equipment and star charts. Admiral Sarah Kane was waiting for them, along with Dr. Yamamoto, the head of Earth Science Division. The alien said 72 hours. Chen said quietly, "How much time do we actually have?" Admiral Kane checked her watch. 36 hours until the ships are in position. 48 hours until all crews are ready. 60 hours until we can begin the operation. That's cutting it very close, Morrison said. Dr. Yamamoto looked up from a data pad covered with numbers and calculations. The asteroid belt facilities report they're ahead of schedule. Jupiter Base finished their last ship yesterday. Even the secret yards around Saturn are ready to move. President Chen walked to a large window that looked out at the alien ship, hovering over the city. Millions of people were going about their daily lives below, most of them having no idea what was really happening. 30 years, she said softly. 30 years of preparation. 30 years of building in secret. 30 years of pretending to be weaker than we really are. The alien seemed very confident, Morrison observed. Good, Chen replied. Let them stay confident for a little longer. Admiral Kane, send the activation codes to all fleet commanders. Tell them Operation Lazarus begins in 36 hours. Outside the window, the eternal judgment continued to block out the sun, a symbol of alien power and human helplessness. Or at least that's what the Galactic Council believed it was. The news channels showed the same thing all over Earth. Crowds of protesters demanding surrender mixed with crowds demanding resistance. Politicians gave speeches about difficult choices and impossible odds. Religious leaders prayed for peace. Everyone seemed to be arguing about what humanity should do. But in secret places around the solar system, humanity was already doing something. Commander Lisa Park floated in zero gravity inside what looked like a mining station near the asteroid belt. For 15 years she had worked here, pretending to dig for rare metals while actually building warships. The station was called Industrial Platform 7 on all the official records. Its real name was Forge Base Alpha, and it was one of 43 hidden shipyards scattered throughout the solar system. Final systems check complete, her chief engineer reported. Tech Sergeant Williams had been with her since the beginning, back when this place was just a small mining operation with a secret compartment. All 36 ships show green across the board. Park looked through the observation window at the fleet hidden inside the asteroid. From the outside, Industrial Platform 7 looked like any other mining operation. Boring equipment, storage tanks, and worker habitats covered the surface. But inside the hollowed-out rock was a shipyard that could build destroyers. The ships didn't look like much either. They were painted to look like cargo haulers and research vessels. Their weapons were hidden behind fake panels. Their engines were disguised as industrial equipment. But each one was a fully functional warship, designed to fight and win against alien technology. How long until we can launch? Park asked. 28 hours, Williams replied. The last ship needs final weapon calibration, but everything else is ready. Park nodded and activated her communication system. Similar conversations were happening all over the solar system. At Europa Station, Admiral Chen was getting ready to launch the heavy cruisers. At Titan Base, Captain Rodriguez was preparing the assault ships. Even in Earth orbit, seemingly innocent space stations were opening hidden bays. The plan had started 30 years ago, right after humanity's first contact with an alien species. The Veltar had been peaceful traders, but their stories about the Galactic Council had been troubling. They spoke of forced integration, of species that lost their independence, of civilizations that were guided whether they wanted it or not. Earth's leaders had listened carefully and made a decision. Humanity would prepare for the day when the Council came calling. They would do it slowly, carefully, and in complete secret. Most importantly, they would make sure the Council never suspected what they were really doing. The deception had been perfect. While the Council's spy networks watched human space, they saw exactly what they expected to see: primitive ships, simple weapons, and a species that seemed to be struggling with basic space travel. The Council's agents reported that humanity was decades away from being a real threat. What they didn't see were the hidden shipyards, the secret weapons research, or the careful placement of seemingly harmless facilities throughout the solar system. They didn't notice that many of Earth's mining ships were actually disguised warships. They didn't realize that humanity's slow expansion into space was actually a careful placement of military assets. On board the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Corvin was reading the latest intelligence reports. The alien was confident and relaxed, as all Council commanders were when dealing with primitive species. The reports confirmed what he already knew. Humanity was panicking, just like every other species did when faced with Council power. Status report, Corvin ordered his intelligence officer. No significant military activity detected, the officer replied. Some movement of civilian ships, probably refugees trying to leave Earth. A few mining operations have increased their schedules, probably trying to gather resources before integration. Nothing that indicates military preparation. Corvin's 4 eyes glowed with satisfaction. This was going exactly as expected. Humans were behaving like every other species faced with Council authority. Fear, panic, desperate attempts to gather resources, and finally surrender. What about their fleet positions? Corvin asked. Unchanged. Most of their warships remain in defensive positions around Earth and the other colony worlds. Their deep space patrols have actually decreased. The humans appear to be pulling their ships back to protect their major population centers. Excellent, Corvin said. Fear makes them predictable. Admiral Thexvar, what is the status of our own fleet? Admiral Thexvar consulted her tactical display. She was a veteran of 17 integration campaigns and had never seen a species successfully resist. Battle Group Alpha maintains position around Earth. Battle Groups Beta through Delta are stationed at the human colony worlds. Our deep space squadrons are monitoring all major space lanes. If the humans try to run, we will catch them. If they try to fight, we will destroy them. How long until the deadline? Corvin asked. 46 hours and 37 minutes, Thexvar replied. Begin moving our ships into final positions. I want maximum intimidation for the last 24 hours. Let the humans see exactly how hopeless their situation is. What Corvin and his officers didn't know was that every movement of the Council fleet was being carefully monitored. Hidden sensors throughout the solar system tracked every alien ship. Quantum communication networks carried that information instantly to secret command centers on Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. In a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps, General Morrison stood before a wall-sized tactical display. The screen showed the positions of every Council ship in the solar system, updated in real time. Red dots marked the alien vessels, while blue dots showed the hidden human fleet. They're moving into final positions, his aide reported. Just like the simulations predicted, Morrison smiled grimly. For 30 years, humanity had studied every piece of information they could gather about Council tactics. They knew how the aliens fought, how they positioned their fleets, and most importantly, how they thought. The Council was used to fighting species that developed technology in a straight line. First you built simple ships, then better ships, then advanced ships. First you conquered your home system, then nearby systems, then distant systems. The Council had seen this pattern repeated 47 times, but humanity had never followed the pattern. While appearing to develop slowly and conventionally, they had actually been building a military force designed specifically to fight the Council. They had studied every Council battle, analyzed every victory, and identified every weakness. Signal all commanders, Morrison ordered. Operation Lazarus is now active. All units are to maintain current positions until H-hour. Remind them that timing is everything. Similar orders went out across the solar system. In hidden bases, disguised ships, and secret facilities, thousands of humans received the same message. The time for hiding was almost over. Captain Sarah Kane sat in the command chair of what appeared to be a simple research vessel. The UES Darwin was supposedly studying cosmic radiation near Jupiter's moons. In reality, it was the command ship for Battle Group Hammer, the largest single fleet humanity had ever assembled. All ships report ready, her communications officer announced. The entire strike force is positioned and waiting for orders. Kane looked at her tactical display. 48 ships were hidden among Jupiter's moons, all of them disguised as scientific or industrial vessels. Each one was equipped with weapons and technology that the Council had never seen before. More importantly, each one was crewed by humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. How long until the other fleets are in position? Kane asked. 18 hours, her tactical officer replied. Admiral Chen's heavy units will be the last to deploy. The Mars yards are still loading their final ships. Kane nodded. Everything was proceeding according to plan. In 18 hours, the largest fleet in human history would be in position to strike at 12 different targets simultaneously. The Council thought they were facing a primitive species with a few hundred simple ships. They were about to discover they were wrong. Back on Earth, President Chen stood in the same secure room where she had met with her military commanders. The wall displays now showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. Over 2,000 ships were moving into position, all of them hidden from Council sensors. The alien ambassador will expect an answer in 45 hours, her aide reminded her. He'll get one, Chen replied. Just not the answer he's expecting. Outside, the eternal judgment continued to hover over New York City, a symbol of alien power. But deep in space, humanity's true fleet was getting ready to show the Galactic Council that some species couldn't be intimidated. The countdown to H-hour had begun. Admiral Corvin was enjoying his morning meal when the impossible happened. The Council command ship's alarm started screaming, filling the air with harsh warning sounds that hadn't been heard in decades. Corvin dropped his food container and rushed to the command center, his four legs carrying him faster than he had moved in years. Report, he barked at the duty officer. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, the officer replied, his voice shaking. Ships are appearing everywhere. Hundreds of them. Corvin stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red warning symbols were appearing all over the screen, marking new contacts appearing throughout human space. Ships were emerging from asteroid fields, from behind moons, from deep space hiding spots where nothing should have been. This is impossible, Corvin said. Our intelligence reports showed less than 200 human vessels total. Sir, contact count is now over 800 and climbing, the sensor officer reported. They're still appearing. The main viewing screen activated, showing the space around Earth. What Corvin saw made his blood run cold. The sky was filling with human warships. Vessels that had looked like harmless cargo haulers were shedding their disguises, revealing weapon arrays and armor plating. Mining ships were opening hidden launch bays and deploying fighter squadrons. Even the space stations were extending gun turrets and missile pods. How did we miss this? Corvin demanded. Before anyone could answer, every communication channel in the fleet activated at once. A human voice spoke in perfect Council standard, the universal language used by all member species. Council Fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Kane of the Earth Defense Force. You demanded our surrender. Instead, you get our answer. The image of a human female appeared on every screen in the Council Fleet. She was sitting in what was obviously a military command center, wearing a uniform that looked far more advanced than any human equipment the Council had seen before. For 30 years, you have watched us and judged us, Kane continued. You saw what you expected to see. A primitive species struggling with basic spaceflight, a civilization that could be easily conquered and integrated. The tactical display updated again. The contact count was now over 1,200 ships and more were still appearing. Corvin realized with growing horror that humanity had been hiding a fleet larger than many Council member worlds possessed. You were wrong about us, Kane said. We are not the Veltar who gave up after one battle. We are not the Morden, who surrendered when you destroyed their capital. We are not the Kethvar who submitted when you proved your technological superiority. On the screen, Admiral Kane stood up from her command chair. Behind her, Corvin could see human officers working at stations that looked disturbingly advanced. The technology visible in that one shot was years ahead of what Council intelligence had reported. We are humanity, Kane declared. We are the species that climbed out of caves and touched the stars. We are the people who split the atom and walked on other worlds. We are the civilization that looked at the impossible and decided to try anyway. The communication cut out, leaving the Council fleet in stunned silence. Corvin stared at the tactical display, trying to process what he was seeing. In 30 years of integration campaigns, nothing like this had ever happened. "Admiral," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving priority signals from all our other battle groups." "Put them through," Corvin ordered. The screen split to show the commanders of the other Council fleets. Admiral Thexvar looked shaken as she reported from the Mars system. "Admiral Corvin, we have a problem. Human ships are appearing all around Mars. They were hiding behind the planet's moons, disguised as mining operations. My sensor officer estimates at least 300 vessels." Admiral Yulthek appeared next, reporting from the Jupiter system. "The same here. What we thought were research stations have revealed themselves to be military bases. The humans have been building warships inside hollowed-out asteroids. How did our intelligence miss this?" More reports came in from throughout the solar system. Every Council battle group was discovering the same thing. They were not facing a few hundred primitive ships. They were facing a massive, coordinated fleet that had been hidden in plain sight for decades. "Contact count now exceeds 1,500 ships," Corvin's sensor officer reported. "Sir, some of these vessels are showing energy signatures that match our own technology levels." "That's impossible," Corvin said. "Human technology is centuries behind ours. Sir, I'm reading weapon systems that I don't recognize, power sources that shouldn't exist. These ships, they're not what our intelligence reports described." On Earth, President Chen watched the Council fleet's confusion from the secure command center. The wall displays showed the positions of both fleets in real time. For the first time in 30 years, humanity's true military strength was visible. "All fleet commanders report ready," General Morrison announced. "Operation Lazarus is complete. Every ship is in position." Chen nodded and activated the global communication system. This message would go to every human world, every space station, every ship in the fleet. "People of Earth and the colonies," she began. "For 30 years we have prepared for this day. While the galaxy watched, we pretended to be weak. We hid our true strength and let others underestimate us. Today that deception ends." The president paused and looked directly into the camera. Her voice was steady and strong. "The Galactic Council came here expecting us to surrender like 47 other species before us. They thought we would be terrified by their ships and submit to their authority. They believed we were just another primitive civilization that could be easily conquered." Outside, the alien ship still hung over New York City, but it no longer looked as threatening. Now it was just one ship among hundreds, surrounded by a human fleet that had appeared from nowhere. "They were wrong," Chen continued. "We are not primitive. We are not weak. We are not afraid. We are humanity, and we do not surrender." Back on the Council command ship, Admiral Corvin was trying to understand how his perfect intelligence network had failed so completely. 47 successful integration campaigns had taught the Council exactly what to expect from primitive species. Fear, panic, desperate negotiations, and finally surrender. But the humans weren't following the script. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the human ships are moving into attack formations." Corvin looked at the display and saw something that chilled him to his core. The human fleet wasn't just revealing itself. It was preparing to fight. Ships that had been scattered throughout the system were now moving with military precision, forming battle lines and assault groups. "Admiral Kane is signaling again," the communications officer reported. The human admiral appeared on screen once more, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her, Corvin could see what was obviously a massive command center with dozens of officers and advanced tactical displays. "Council fleet," Kane said. "You have two choices. You can withdraw from human space immediately, or you can face the consequences of your arrogance." Corvin found his voice. "Admiral Kane, you cannot be serious. Your ships may outnumber ours locally, but the Council has thousands of vessels. If you attack us, we will call for reinforcements and crush your entire species." Kane smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Admiral Corvin, you still don't understand. You're not just facing the ships you can see. This isn't our entire fleet. This is just the welcoming committee." The tactical display updated again, showing new contacts appearing at the edge of the solar system. More human ships were jumping in from deep space, arriving from directions the Council had thought were empty. "Impossible," Corvin whispered. "Admiral," Kane continued, "you said the Council always wins. You said resistance is futile. You said we should learn from the 47 species that came before us. The human admiral leaned forward in her chair. Well, we did learn from them. We learned that surrendering to bullies never works out well for anyone. We learned that the only way to deal with tyrants is to hit them hard enough that they think twice before bothering you again. Kane gestured to someone off-screen, and the tactical display on the council ship updated once more. Now it showed not just the local human fleet, but strategic positions throughout known space. Human ships were positioned near a dozen council worlds, all of them having appeared simultaneously. You wanted to know if humanity was ready to join the galactic community? Kane said. Congratulations, Admiral. You just found out. The communication ended, leaving the council fleet alone with a terrible realization. They had come to conquer a primitive species and instead had found themselves facing an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for 30 years. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was not in control of the situation. The first shot came from a human destroyer near Mars. Captain Rodriguez had been waiting for this moment his entire military career. When the Council heavy cruiser Dominion's Edge tried to move into a threatening position above the Red Planet, Rodriguez didn't hesitate. Fire, he ordered simply. The UES Defiant's main guns spoke with nuclear fire. Energy beams that shouldn't have existed on human ships carved through the alien vessel's shields like they were made of paper. The Council ship staggered under the impact, its crew scrambling to understand how primitive human weapons had penetrated their advanced defenses. That single shot started the largest space battle in galactic history. Within seconds, fighting erupted across 12 star systems simultaneously. Human fleets that had been hidden for decades emerged from their concealment with one purpose: to show the Galactic Council that humanity would not surrender. Admiral Sarah Kane watched the battle unfold from her command ship deep in the Jupiter system. The UES Darwin had shed its disguise as a research vessel and now revealed itself as one of the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. Around her, 47 other ships formed Battle Group Hammer, the spearhead of humanity's assault. All ships execute attack pattern Delta, Kane ordered. Hit them hard and fast. Don't give them time to organize. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves. While the Council ships tried to form their traditional battle lines, the humans swarmed them from multiple directions. This wasn't the kind of organized, formation-based combat the Council was used to. This was chaos, violence, and aggression on a scale that shocked the alien commanders. The UES Defiant led a squadron of destroyers in a direct assault on the Council battle line. Instead of maintaining safe distances and exchanging long-range fire, Rodriguez brought his ships in close where the aliens' heavy weapons couldn't track them effectively. Ramming speed, Rodriguez shouted as his ship bore down on a Council battleship. All hands prepare for impact. The Defiant smashed into the alien vessel's hull, its reinforced prow tearing through armor and bulkheads. Both ships shuddered under the impact, but the human destroyer had been built to survive such collisions. The Council ship had not. Boarding parties away, Rodriguez ordered as his Marines launched themselves through the breach in the alien hull. This was something the Council had never experienced. Human soldiers in powered armor stormed through the corridors of alien ships, fighting with a savage intensity that terrified the sophisticated Council crews. The aliens were used to clean technological warfare. They weren't prepared for humans who treated space combat like a street fight. On Earth, the battle above New York City was just as fierce. The massive Council dreadnought Eternal Judgment found itself surrounded by dozens of human ships that had appeared from nowhere. What had looked like cargo haulers and passenger transports revealed hidden weapons and began pouring fire into the alien vessel. Commander Lisa Park led the attack from her command ship, the UES Forge. She had spent 15 years pretending to run a mining operation while actually preparing for this moment. Target their command section, she ordered. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. We need to send a message. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, their weapons designed specifically to penetrate Council defenses. Energy beams and missile barrages overwhelmed the alien vessel's shields, forcing it to rely on armor that hadn't been tested against human weapons. But the Council wasn't defenseless. Admiral Corvin rallied his forces and began fighting back with the technology that had conquered 47 other species. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids opened fire on the human fleet. Energy shields deflected human weapons. Point defense systems shot down incoming missiles. The problem was that the humans didn't fight like any species the Council had encountered before. When conventional attacks failed, human ships would ram their targets. When their weapons were outranged, they would close to knife-fighting distance. When their shields failed, they would keep fighting until their ships came apart around them. Captain Williams commanded a heavy cruiser near Saturn's rings. When 3 Council warships cornered his vessel, cutting off his escape routes, he made a decision that shocked the alien commanders. "All hands abandon ship," he ordered. "Set the reactor to overload. We're taking them with us." The UES Constitution exploded like a small star, its nuclear detonation consuming itself and 2 Council vessels. The 3rd alien ship barely escaped, its crew traumatized by an enemy willing to sacrifice themselves to win. Dr. Yamamoto's science vessel, the UES Darwin, proved that human innovation could be just as deadly as human aggression. When a Council squadron tried to surround her ship near Europa, she activated a device that the aliens had never seen before. "Gravity well generator online," her science officer reported. "Target locked." Space itself seemed to twist around the Council ships. Their carefully planned formation collapsed as artificial gravity fields pulled them off course and into each other. While the aliens struggled to understand what was happening, human fighters swarmed in to finish them off. The Council's formation-based tactics, perfected over centuries of warfare, crumbled against human unpredictability. Every time the aliens tried to establish a battle line, the humans would attack from an unexpected direction. Every time they attempted to use their superior technology, the humans would find a way to negate the advantage through sheer audacity. But the humans were paying a price for their victories. Ships were being destroyed, crews were dying, and even their advanced technology couldn't completely bridge the gap with Council weapons. The difference was that humanity had prepared for losses on a scale that the Council couldn't imagine. Admiral Kane received damage reports from across the human fleet. The numbers were sobering but not unexpected. 17 ships destroyed, 43 damaged, her aide reported. Battle Group Alpha reports heavy casualties but is still combat effective. Kane nodded grimly. Every human ship and crew lost was a tragedy, but they had known this would be costly. The question was whether they could inflict enough damage on the Council to force them to the negotiating table. "What about enemy losses?" she asked. "Conservative estimate puts Council casualties at over 100 ships destroyed or disabled," the tactical officer replied. "Their battle formations are breaking down across multiple systems. The tide of battle was turning. The Council ships, designed to fight conventional enemies in predictable ways, were struggling against human tactics that seemed to embrace chaos. But the real shock came when the aliens realized that this wasn't humanity's full strength. Additional human fleets began appearing at the edge of known space. Ships that had been traveling for months from hidden bases in distant systems arrived to join the battle. The Council found themselves facing not just the ships they had discovered in the Sol system, but reinforcements coming from directions they hadn't even known humanity had explored. Admiral Corvin stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching his perfect battle plan fall apart. The Eternal Judgment was listing badly, its armor scorched by human weapons. Around him, the crew worked desperately to keep the ship operational. "Status report," he demanded. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, his damage control officer reported. "Main weapons offline. Shields at 30%. Sir, we need to withdraw and regroup." Corvin looked at the tactical display. The neat formations of Council ships that had begun the battle were gone, replaced by scattered groups fighting for survival against swarms of human vessels. This wasn't how integration campaigns were supposed to go. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "All ships are to fall back to Rendezvous Point Alpha. We need time to reassess the situation." But the humans weren't content to let the Council retreat in good order. As the alien ships tried to disengage, human vessels pursued them, harassing their flanks and preventing them from forming defensive formations. Captain Rodriguez, his ship now barely holding together after multiple ramming attacks, led a squadron of destroyers in pursuit of fleeing Council cruisers. "Don't let them regroup," he shouted over the communication system. "Keep hitting them until they're out of the system." The battle raged for 6 more hours before the Council fleet finally managed to withdraw to safe distances. They left behind over 200 destroyed or disabled ships, along with thousands of prisoners who had survived the destruction of their vessels. More importantly, They left behind the certainty that had sustained the Council for centuries. For the first time in their history, they had been fought to a standstill by a species they had considered primitive. As the human fleets regrouped and began rescue operations for survivors on both sides, one thing became clear to everyone involved. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced its presence not with words or diplomacy, but with fire and fury. The age of easy council dominance was over. 3 days after the battle ended, Ambassador Zexithara returned to Earth. This time there was no massive dreadnought hovering over New York City. The alien shuttle landed at a military base outside the city, escorted by human fighters that stayed close enough to make their message clear. The ambassador looked different now. The arrogant confidence was gone, replaced by something humans recognized but had rarely seen from council species. Respect mixed with wariness. Zexithara walked carefully as human soldiers guided it to the same United Nations building, where this had all started. President Chen was waiting in the assembly hall, but the scene was very different from their first meeting. Human military officers stood at attention around the room. Wall displays showed real-time positions of both fleets, making it clear that the human forces were still at full readiness. Most importantly, the people in the room no longer looked like helpless primitives waiting for their fate to be decided. Ambassador, President Chen said as Zexithara approached the podium, "I trust your fleet is recovering from our recent conversation." The alien's translator made soft clicking sounds as it processed the words. When Zexithara spoke, its voice was more careful than before. "President Chen, the Council wishes to reassess our initial evaluation of humanity." "Oh?" Chen replied. "And what was wrong with your initial evaluation?" Zexithara's forearms moved nervously. "We may have underestimated certain aspects of human development." General Morrison, still bearing bandages from the battle, stood up from his seat. "That's a polite way of saying you thought we were easy prey." "The Council does not view other species as prey," Zexithara protested, but its voice lacked conviction. Admiral Kane, her uniform showing scorch marks from commanding the battle, walked to the front of the room. "Ambassador, let's be honest about what happened. Your people came here expecting another easy integration. You thought we'd roll over and submit like 47 other species." The alien's large black eyes fixed on Kane. "Admiral Kane, your tactical performance was unexpected. It was exactly what we planned," Kane replied. "For 30 years we studied every council battle, every integration campaign, every species that surrendered to you. We learned from their mistakes." President Chen stepped forward. "The question now, Ambassador, is what happens next. Your fleet is damaged and far from home. Our fleet is intact and ready for round 2. What does the Council propose?" Zexithara was quiet for a long moment, probably receiving instructions from its superiors through quantum communication. When it spoke again, the words came slowly and carefully. "The Council recognizes that humanity represents a unique situation. Previous integration protocols may not be applicable to your species. In other words," Morrison said, "you're not sure you can beat us." "The Council's concern is for galactic stability," Zexithara replied. "Conflict benefits no one. Perhaps there is a way for humanity to join the galactic community without full integration." Chen smiled, but it wasn't a warm expression. "Ambassador, I think you're still misunderstanding the situation. We're not asking to join your community. We're informing you that we already have." The alien looked confused. "I do not understand." Admiral Kane activated a holographic display that showed the current positions of human fleets. "While you were attacking us here, our ships were taking positions throughout Council space. Right now we have fleets within striking distance of 12 Council worlds." Zexithara stared at the display in shock. "This is impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected such movements." "Your intelligence networks detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Chen said. "Ships that looked like traders, explorers, and refugees. What they actually were was an invasion force that's been positioning itself for 5 years." Dr. Yamamoto, now wearing a military uniform instead of a science coat, stood up with a data pad in her hands. "Ambassador, your people made a fundamental error. You assumed that humanity would develop technology and tactics the same way every other species has. But we don't think like other species." "Elaborate," Zexithara said weakly. "Every species you've conquered before followed predictable patterns. Yamamoto explained. They built ships, then better ships, then advanced ships. They conquered their home system, then nearby systems, then distant systems. They developed weapons, then defenses, then counters to those defenses. The scientist walked closer to the alien. But humans are paranoid. We don't just prepare for the threats we can see. We prepare for the threats we imagine. When we first learned about the Council 30 years ago, we immediately started preparing for the day you'd come to conquer us. But your technology, Zexathera protested. Our scans showed you were centuries behind Council development. Our public technology, Chen corrected. What you saw in our civilian ships and open research. What you didn't see was 30 years of secret military development specifically designed to counter Council advantages. The President gestured to Admiral Kane, who activated another display. This one showed technical specifications for human weapons and ships, all of them far more advanced than anything the Council had detected. We've been fighting mock battles against imaginary Council fleets for decades, Kane explained. Every tactic you used we had already planned for. Every weapon you deployed we had already developed counters for. You weren't fighting a primitive species, Ambassador. You were fighting a civilization that had been preparing for war with you since before most of your crew was born. Zexthera's translator went silent for several long minutes. The alien was clearly communicating with its superiors, probably trying to explain how the Council's perfect intelligence network had failed so completely. Finally, it spoke again. What do you want? Simple, Chen replied. Recognition. The Council will acknowledge humanity as an independent species with the right to govern our own affairs. You will establish formal diplomatic relations with us as equals, not as subjects, and you will guarantee the safety of human space. And in return? Zexathera asked. In return, we won't attack your worlds, Morrison said bluntly. We won't destabilize your government. We won't start freeing all those species you've integrated over the centuries. The alien's skin color shifted to a paler blue. You would not dare, wouldn't we? Chen asked. Ambassador, you said yourself that 47 species have joined the Council. How many of them joined willingly? How many would choose independence if they knew it was possible? Kane stepped forward. We've already been in contact with several of them. The Veltar resistance was very interested to learn that the Council can be beaten. The Morden Underground wants to know if we can help them liberate their homeworld. Even some of your older member species are asking questions about renegotiating their relationship with the Council. Zexathera looked genuinely frightened now. The Council's power had always been based on the assumption that resistance was impossible. If that assumption was wrong, their entire empire could collapse. You're talking about destroying thousands of years of galactic civilization, the alien said. We're talking about giving people choices, Chen replied. Something the Council seems to have forgotten about. The room fell silent as Zexathera communicated with its superiors again. This conversation took much longer, and the alien's body language suggested it was not going well. Finally, the ambassador looked up at the human leaders. The Council requires time to consider these proposals. Of course, Chen said. Take all the time you need, but while you're considering, remember that our fleets are still in position, and every day you delay gives us more time to talk to other species about the benefits of independence. Admiral Kane checked her watch. Also remember that we're humans. We're impatient by nature. The longer this takes, the more likely some of our ship commanders are to start their own diplomatic initiatives. What does that mean? Zexathera asked. It means some of our captains might decide to visit Council worlds and have friendly conversations with the local populations, Morrison explained. You know how humans love to talk about freedom and self-determination? The alien stood up quickly. I will convey your proposals to the High Council immediately. Good, Chen said. We'll be waiting for their response. Take care, Ambassador. And remember to tell your superiors that humanity is now part of the galactic community, whether the Council likes it or not. After Zexathera left, the assembly hall erupted in cheers and applause. 30 years of secret preparation had paid off. Humanity had not only survived the Council's ultimatum but had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. President Chen stood at the podium and looked out at the assembled leaders, military officers and scientists who had made this moment possible. Today marks the end of humanity's isolation, she announced. We are no longer hiding among the stars, pretending to be weaker than we are. We have taken our place in the galaxy not as subjects or supplicants, but as equals. She paused and looked directly at the cameras that were broadcasting this moment to every human world. To the people of Earth and the colonies, to our allies among the stars, and to anyone listening who dreams of freedom, remember this day. Remember that sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to surrender. Remember that preparation and determination can overcome any advantage, and remember that humanity bows to no one.